answers. X is equal to minus 5 and x is equal to plus 5. Right, number 5. Firstly, it is in standard form, so no need to do anything else. It is in standard form. But when I look at this example, I've got to remove a common factor x. I've got to remove common factor x. So x into x plus 9 is equal to 0. Now you make each factor equal to 0. This is already complete. You only have to solve here. X is equal to minus 9. So that brings us to the end of number 5. Let's look at number 6. X squared minus 11x is equal to 0. The equation is in standard form. Factorize. In this case, you have to remove common factor. Make each factor equal to 0. This is already solved. Just have to solve here. Minus 11 becomes plus 11. That's number 6. Number 7, x squared is equal to 14x minus 33. Well, this is not in standard form. So we have to bring it to standard form. So you got x squared minus 14x plus 33 is equal to 0. You see, the 14 plus 14 becomes minus 14. Minus 33 becomes plus 33. Now we can factorize this. So, what are the factors of 33? Well, your choices are, you got x, and you got 33 and 1. You see, this is minus and that is plus. So it means both the factors are minus. So it could be minus 33 and minus 1, or it could be minus 11 and minus 3. That still gives you minus 33. So you look here and you look there and you decide which is going to give you minus 14. So clearly it's this choice here. So you got x and x, minus 11 and minus 3. Multiply, you get minus 11x. Multiply, you get minus 3x. Add them up, you get minus 14x. So you got your minus 14x. So the top two, that is 11 x minus 11, the top two comes in the first bracket. The bottom two comes in the next bracket. Each bracket is made equal to 0. And finally solve. Minus 11 becomes plus 11. Minus 3 becomes plus 3. And finally we do number 8. Alright, here's number 8. And firstly, it is in standard form. So that's fine. We can go ahead and factorize it. So I'll help you with this one. You see, you got 2x squared, so you write 2x and x. Then you got minus 4. Now for minus 4, I got many choices. It could be minus 2 and plus 2. It could be plus 4 and minus 1. It could be minus 4 and plus 1. Now I'm looking for minus 7 in the middle. So I must have a good look here and make a choice. Right? So, now, if you remember clearly, in the earlier on in factorization we told you that when you're factorizing trinomials, there must be no common factor in horizontal row. So, you see, there must be no common factor in horizontal row. So, if I take 2x and x, and now I can't take this But if I take this, the moment I write 2 here, I got common factor in horizontal row, so that one is out. But I can take that one. If I take that one, I must not write 4 on top, because then I got a common factor in the horizontal row. So it's better for me to write -1 and 4. Now you see there's no common factor in the horizontal rows. And if I test this, that will give me -x, that will give me 8x, and I end up with +7x, and I say, well, that's a wrong choice, because I'm looking for -7x. So that was the wrong choice. So I take the next one, which is 2x and x, and I got -4 and 1, but I can't write -4 here, because then I'll have common factors in a horizontal row. So I can't write -4 here, so I will write 1, and I'll write my -4 down. So you see, you don't have any common factors in that row, you don't have any common factors here. And now if I try it, that will give me 1x, that will give me -8x, that will give me -7x when I add them up. So you see, -7x, and I'm looking for -7x, so this is the right one. Once again, the top row goes in the first bracket, so it's 2x plus 1. The bottom row goes in the second bracket. Then you make each bracket equal to 0. And then of course this one will be 2x is equal to -1. The +1 became -1, transposing. Now x, I have to divide by 2 on both sides. So I'm left with x is equal to -12. And here we merely transpose the -4, we get x equal to 4. Alright, so those were the answers to exercise 1 on quadratic equation. Now this will be the end of lesson 1. So what you should do now is you should go and relax a little bit. Come back, if you do wish to learn now, come back after half an hour and then continue with lesson 2 on quadratic equations. Welcome back. We're moving on to lesson 2 on quadratic equations. So if we told you to solve, and we gave you this example here, x minus 5 over x is equal to 6. Right. So we gave you this example. We told you solve this. X minus 5 over x is equal to 6. Right. So if you look at this, it's not a quadratic equation. If you look at this, it's not a quadratic equation, or it looks as if it is. It looks as if it's not a quadratic equation. That's what happened. It looks as if it's not a quadratic equation, but we're going to show you now what to do. Alright, let's just correct this question a little bit. Say it is x plus, let's say it's x plus 5 over x is equal to 6. Now when you look at it, it doesn't look like a quadratic equation and you want to solve it. Well, firstly, you can see there's a fraction here. There's the denominator. So you got to get rid of this denominator. So what you're going to do, you're going to say, alright, let's try to bring in standard form first. There's your x plus 5 over x minus 6 is equal to 0. Well, it could be a large 6, it doesn't matter. Now, you want to get rid of this x because you want to try and solve this problem. So your idea is to get rid of this x. So what you do, you multiply by x throughout. So you take this x here, which is actually x over 1, and you're multiplying it by x over 1. Then you're taking that 5 over x there, and you're multiplying it by x over 1. Then you're taking the minus 6, which is actually minus 6 over 1, and you're multiplying it by x over 1. So what you're doing, you're multiplying by x over 1 here, multiplying by x over 1 here, multiplying by x over 1 here. How you know you must multiply by x over 1? You're looking here. Because this is x, you're going to multiply by x over 1. So, this gives you now x squared. X times x gives you x squared over 1. Plus, this x cancels with that. So, you're left with plus 5 over 1 minus 6 times x gives you 6x over 1 is equal to 0. Now you don't need these ones. So it's x squared plus 5 minus 6x is equal to 0. And now when you look at this, you realize it's better to arrange it like this. X squared minus 6x plus 5 is equal to 0. So you rearrange it. Right? And from here, it's smooth sailing because now it's just factorization. So you got x minus 5 into x minus 1. That gives you x times x gives you x squared minus 5x minus 1x gives you minus 6x, and minus 5 times minus 1 gives you plus 5. So x minus 5 is equal to 0, or x minus 1 is equal to 0, x is equal to 5, x is equal to 1. Alright, let me go through the steps again. You looked at this and it doesn't look like a quadratic, but you can see there's a fraction here and there's x in the denominator. So the idea is now, firstly, to bring it to standard form, bring everything on the left hand side. Then secondly, to get rid of the x, to get rid of this x which is in the denominator, you multiply by x over 1 here. That's why we wrote it here. Then you take that, you write it here, and then you multiply it by x over 1. Then you take your minus 6, write it here, multiply by x over 1. X times x, x squared. Remember power laws, you see? That's x to the 1, that's x to the 1, write down x, add the indices. X squared, 1 times 1 is 1, plus. This x cancels with that x. So you're left with 5, but strictly speaking cancels 1 time, cancels 1 time. So 5 times that 1 is 5. 1 times that 1 is 1. Minus 6 times x is 6x. 1 times 1 is 1. Then all this is over 1, you don't need those ones. 5 is 5 over 1. So if I see 6 over 1, I can just write 6. 5 is 5 over 1. On the other hand, 6 over 1 is 6. So if I see that over 1, I can just write x squared, I can just write 5, I can just write 6x. And now this is and then this is not in standard form, so you brought it to standard form. X squared minus 6x plus 5 equal to 0. Factorize and complete. So actually here there was only one new step, which is multiply by x throughout. Okay, so that's how we do an example that contains x in the denominator. Alright, here we have example 2. X cubed plus 7x squared plus 10x is equal to 0. So what you do, the moment you look at this, factorization comes into your mind, that you have common factor x. So you straight away remove common factor x. So if you divide that by x, you're left with x squared. You divide that by x, you're left with 7x. You divide that by x, you're left with 10. And now if you look inside the bracket, you got a quadratic. You got a quadratic inside the bracket. So you will have to factorize the quadratic that is inside the bracket. You got to factorize that. And that becomes x plus 5 into x plus 2. You see, if you took that one side, you got x squared plus 7x plus 10. You see? And you factorize that on its own. Then you get x plus 2 into x plus 5. Now if you don't know your factorization as fast as I'm writing it, that means you don't know your factorization. You have to practice much more. So I've taken that part there. I just wrote it one side just to make it clear. I factorized it. So there's the factors. Once again, you got to make each factor equal to 0. So x will be equal to 0, or x plus 5 is equal to 0, or x plus 2 is equal to 0. This is already solved. This one becomes x is equal to minus 5, and this one becomes x is equal to minus 2. So that is how we do example 2. So the difference here was that I must remove common factor first, then I end up with a quadratic, then factorize the quadratic itself, and then you make each factor equal to 0. In other words, in this particular question you got 3 answers. Right, here we have example 3. Solve 5 over x plus 2 is equal to x plus 2 over 5. Now if you remember this kind of example from linear equations, you just simply cross multiply. So let's call this example 3. So if you cross multiply, you're going to say x plus 2 times x plus 2. You're going to multiply these two. Is equal to 5 times 5. You just cross multiply. X plus 2 times x plus 2 is equal to 5 times 5. And then a little bit of products which we did long time ago. X times, well, let's do it step by step then. You write the bracket down 2 times, isn't it? There. So that gives you x squared plus 2x plus 2x plus 4 is equal to 25. X squared plus 4x plus 4 is equal to 25. Right? So, we have to multiply that. Use our knowledge of products. We multiplied it. Now this is not in standard form. So bring it to standard form. So now it is in standard form. So when you get an example like this, cross multiply, which we did. When you come to here, it's your knowledge of products, which we're using here. Remove the brackets, simplify. When you reached here, you realized it's not in standard form, so you brought the 25 this side, you made it standard form, and then you realize that I could add those two numbers up, which I did, and now I factorize. So this will be x plus 7 into x minus 3. When you factorize that, you get x plus 7. You see, you got x, and you got x, and then you got minus 21 times 1, or 21 times minus 1, or minus 7 times 3, or 7 times minus 3. So, you're looking for a 4, a plus 4, and you've got to make a choice from there. So, there's your x and there's your x. So you've got to make a choice. By now you have caught up that, look, if this is plus, then the bigger number should be plus. So there's the 7, there's the minus 3. That's 7x, that's minus 3x. Add them up, you get plus 4x. So, x times x, x squared. 7 times minus 3, minus 21. Middle term is plus 4x, middle term is plus 4x. So we tested it. And once again, you make each bracket equal to 0. And finally, x is equal to minus 7, or x is equal to 3. Right, so the only difference in this example was you had to cross multiply. So, cross multiply. And then here, in this step, you are using knowledge of products. You are using knowledge of products, and you are finding the product, and you continue. Alright, so that is what we will call lesson 2, and I will give you a little exercise now on these 3 different types which you can do to see how you coping with it. Okay, so here we have exercise 2 on quadratic equations. Number 1, x plus 18 over x is equal to negative 11. Number 2, x cubed plus 12x squared plus 27x is equal to 0. And number 3, 6 over x minus 4 is equal to x minus 4 over 6. Alright, so once again we will ask you to stop the DVD here, try these examples and come back so that we can mark them for you. Alright, so go ahead and try these 3 examples. Alright, welcome back. Hope you had some good success with that exercise. Here is the solution to exercise 2. Right, because you got an x in the denominator here, you'll have to multiply by x here, multiply by x, multiply by x. Well, firstly, let's do this. Let's bring the x here, plus 18 over x here. Then let's bring the minus 11 this side, it will become plus 11, and then I'll have 0. So that's number 1. Then I'm going to multiply by x over 1, multiply by x over 1, multiply by x over 1. Right, so I'm going to multiply by x throughout. So this gives me x squared over 1 plus 18 over 1. See, this x is actually x over 1. These x's cancel, so you're left with 18 times 1, 18. 1 times 1, 1. Plus, this 11 is actually 11 over 1. 11 times x, 11x over 1 times 1, 1, which is 0. Now, all these ones, I can ignore it. So you get x squared plus 18 plus 11x is equal to 0. Then I must bring this to standard form. X squared plus 11x plus 18 is equal to 0. X plus 9, x plus 2. If you factorize that, 18, break it up into 9 and 2. Right, so then x plus 9 is equal to 0, or x plus 2 is equal to 0, x is equal to minus 9, x is equal to minus 2. So that's your solution for the first one in exercise 2. Right, here we have number 2. X cubed plus 12x squared plus 27x is equal to 0. So when you read this question, you realize there's a common factor x. Remove the common factor, you get x squared plus 12x plus 27 is equal to 0. And then you realize that this is a quadratic equation inside over here. So there's the x. So we're going to factorize x squared plus 12x plus 27. You're factorizing x squared plus 12x plus 27. You're factorizing that. And it's fairly straightforward. There's x and x. You got 27 and 1, and you got 9 and 3. And you're looking for a 12. So clearly it is 9 and 3. So you got x and x. 9 and 3, that gives you 9x, that gives you 3x, that gives you 12x. So it's x plus 9 into x plus 3. And then you're going to make each one equal to 0. X is equal to 0, or x plus 9 is equal to 0, or x plus 3 is equal to 0. So this one is already solved. This one becomes x is equal to minus 9, and here x is equal to minus 3. So that's a solution for number 2. Here we have number 3, and in number 3 you have to cross multiply. So you get x minus 4 times x minus 4 is equal to 6 times 6. 6 times 6. Right, then here we've got a number of products. If you do it step by step, you'll write the second bracket 2 times. Here you write x. Here you write minus 4 is equal to 6 times 6, 36. And that gives you x squared minus 4x plus 16 is equal to 36. Now, if you forgot your products, go and watch the DVD on products. X squared minus 8x, you see, we are adding this 2 now. We are adding them up. Minus 8x plus 16 is equal to 36. Now, we want to bring the 36 on this side. So it will become minus 36. And now these two can be added, you see. X squared minus 8x minus 20. You put that in your calculator. Plus 16 minus 36, you get minus 20 is equal to 0. Alright. So, you want to factorize. So you got x squared and you got minus 20. That means it's minus 20 and 1, or 20 and minus 1, or 10 and minus